When I'm not celebrating my annual end-of-year tradition by locking in all my crypto losses for my taxes, I like to answer questions that I get on YouTube, so let's get to it. I'm in love with the G sus4. Possibly lost. Started using it as a walk-up or tension chord when I saw Paisley play that G like you did here. Thought today would be a great idea just to go over suspended 4 chords, because I think they're actually kind of slept on, and there's a lot of music theory that you can glean from them. And let's start with that G sus4, right? So here's a regular G chord. The reason that we were talking about this in a previous video is I was talking about context, going from C to G, so leading on a G major with your ring finger like this. And what this does really well is it lends itself to that little hammer on right there, right? Now again, you could do that here, but then you lose the root note unless you reach around with your thumb. But I mean, come on. Or more specifically, all I'm doing is I'm replacing that B in that G chord with a C, all right? Now, the third is very important in a major chord because you need a root, a third, a major third, and a fifth to make a full major chord. But if you replace that third with the 4th note, we suspend the third to the 4th note in G. So we take that B, G, A, B, suspend it up to a 4. You can also suspend it down to a 2, which would just be making this an A. But there's something about suspended 4. Love the sound of a sus4 chord, all right? Now, we can do this in other chords in this key. So what I'm first gonna do is we're gonna do just a basic 1, 4, 5 in the key of G. And we're gonna turn all of them into suspended chords, okay? Really easy way to do this is just, okay, just like that, right? So all I'm doing is taking my pinky. I'm actually kind of abandoning that B string. And then now some of you be like, well, if you dare touch that open B string, it becomes an add 11 and not a suspended 4. It's like, cut me a break, guys. It's almost, I'm just trying to get through 2022 here. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, okay, sure. Sometimes I'll have a minor third up top in something that I'm thinking of as a suspended 4 chord. You're just confusing everybody and giving me a hard time for the sake of giving me a hard time. But I think that's a great way to maybe practice it right there, especially between a transition to a C major chord with a G in the bass, right? So I've got a G major chord, a G sus4, to a C major chord, C over G, C slash G, right? Now we can do this with a C major chord also and a D major chord in this key, right? We'll talk more about why technically you can't do it in the C major, but here, anyways, blah, blah, blah. G. So I had that suspended 4 to the regular triad vibe for all 3 of the major chords in that key, okay? So again, there's G major, gonna go down to a traditional C major chord voicing, gonna go to the People's D, which is the same as C major, 2 frets higher, right? Again, I know we're adding a G and an E to it. The People's D is what we've called this. We've gone over this. If you haven't watched the video where we definitively discern that this is the People's D major chord, then I can't help you anymore. But we can do the same thing with the C shape just by tucking your pinky down on the D string, right? C sus4. And again, this is the People's D sus4. Now there's the other D sus4, known as the Bon Jovi's D sus4. Right, regular D major. What's the third in D major? D, E, F sharp. Take that F sharp, get rid of it, make it a G, right? E sus4. And this is what I want to talk about. I want to talk about taking some traditional chords and using their suspended 4 voicings in places you maybe not have been using them. I don't know if I said that sentence correctly, but we're just going to continue on like it didn't happen. So D major, right? Tried and true. But what about C major, right? There's a couple different ways we can do C sus4. All we have to do is we have to take the third of C, what's that? C, D, E, and turn it into the 4th, F. So we need to replace the E with an F. Easiest way to do that, actually, is just take this, that F on the high E string, like that. But what if I told you you could use that same chord, D, we just have to find the C on the B string, right? We go up here. And I think that's kind of one thing that I don't see a lot of beginner intermediate players using, is using this D major triad as a movable shape, right? For like a D to E, F, G, A, B, C, right? Because I think there's a lot of utility. It sounds really cool having that suspended on top, that suspended 4 on top. What I mean by top just meaning the highest note melody-wise in the chord, right? Because it kind of stands out and it really gives us a feeling of that sus4-ness. Now, I think that's why it's important to learn different voicings where you have the suspended 4 in the middle of the chord. Because then it's more of like a rhythmic change in like the meat of the chord as compared to... Right? You hear the difference? D. There is a difference there, but it's tasty either way, just contextually, whatever you want to use it for. Now, I do want to talk about how on the 4 chord in any key, it's going to be an interesting thing to suspend that 4 because the 4th position in any major key in the key of G will go G, A, B, C. Right? Remember when we took that C and suspended it? We took that E and added an F. Well, guess what? F isn't in the key of G, F sharp is. So if we were to really actually take the 4-ness of that position, we'd get... So that's an interesting sound, right? That's like a C major sharp 11 or something like that, right? And there's a lot of utility to that too because it sounds cool kind of going from a root in its major 3rd there's D. I'm just doing a 2-note version of this, a dyad or whatever. D, and again, you know, I can think of it suspending its 4th, but really I'm just making a power chord from G. Again, it's not so much about what the names are, it's about how it sounds, right? So I always think when I do something like this, even if it's just 2 notes at a time, I'm thinking in my mind, oh, I'm kind of getting that suspended sound, when really you could be like, oh, well, I'm taking a D and an F sharp, and I'm getting a D and a G, which is really a G major power chord. So I'm thinking, instead of, but again, that's what's cool about guitar, is like you can take 2 notes, and it's like almost like a little piece of the puzzle. Like, what are you trying to do? What are you trying to, where are you trying to go? And that's what's cool about the comment as far as like raising tension or something like that, right? There's a lot of things that you could do with like that G suspended 4. And how maybe we're like rising, doing like a chromatic walk where you're just taking something in the middle to build tension. And that's really what it's all about. So again, just a semi-quick little tidbit on suspended chords and how you should be using them more in different positions. So any major chord triad that you want to mess with, again, the other one would be like, the other popular one would be like A major. Just take the B string and go higher, right? So there's an A, so you do another C. Again, it just really pays to know where that major 3rd is, or a minor 3rd, and you can suspend that too. But I think it will actually help you kind of just move around the fretboard. Sean, if I may, I'd like to make a suggestion that you create a virtual tip jar that allows someone to offer some money your way. If you don't want to join a program, most YouTube teachers have this in addition to Patreon and courses. If you already have this, forgive my idiocy and point me towards it. I want to tip you at Christmas, but I just saw no tip jar. If you insist, I actually haven't done this, but I just set it up. So if you just want to throw some money my way, I would appreciate it. But also, if you want to check out the Patreon too, I just uploaded a lesson last night. Classic song, The Arcs, Stay in My Corner. Love that song, so I just kind of did how I play that over on the Patreon, and there's like well over 100 other lessons on there. But honestly, I just appreciate you guys watching and engaging with the content and stuff. All that stuff really helps me out. So if you feel inclined, there's a link there. If not, definitely, the love's still there. You guys are the best. Can you explain what's wrong with playing a G on the 3rd fret of the 1st and 2nd strings at this time? That's how I've always played a cowboy G, and it sounds better that way to me. Really confused by this, and I've been playing for 20 years. Yeah, so in this video, I was like, real gangsters play a G with your ring finger on the B 3rd fret, so an extra D on top, and as compared to getting your ring in your pinky. I only said that because there was a video like 2 or 3 years ago that I think I was making some random reference to like, this is how you know like a lizard person. Lizard people play G majors like this, and regular humans play G major like this. So yeah, in response to that comment, it's an inside joke that only 4 people will remember, and tens of thousands of people will just be more confused by it, which is kind of like the ethos of this channel. Why elixir strings? You never explained, or is this just dumb viral marketing? Man, I really love this actually. So I've been doing these YouTube shorts. YouTube is pushing everybody to make shorts, right? So I'm like, okay, I'll do these things where I try to teach a snippet of something educational, which is a very difficult thing to do. Even for me at the speed in which I usually talk, it's hard to get a coherent musical idea across in 60 seconds. But it's been a challenge, and I've accepted the challenge, and I feel like some of those videos are actually kind of helpful, right? The funny thing to me is how many people are like, oh, this was sponsored? Like, at the end of the video, I'll be like, and it sounds great on elixir strings. First of all, because it does, and it's like the most natural product integration that you could ever do, and I really believe it. But it's so funny that like the first 58 seconds of like this bite-sized content that you found valuable, that you found education with, as soon as like, oh, a company was mentioned, it like invalidates everything that came before. Which to some things, like if it's like a demo or something, I could get it. Like if I'm doing a demo and I do the whole demo, it's like, by the way, a company paid me to do that. Yeah, I understand that, because then it's like, well, what are you going to trust? But with educational stuff, it's so funny to me, because it's like, well, now I don't know what to believe. Someone was paid to educate me with proper information in an entertaining and structured way by a true professional? What do I do? How do I recover from this? I don't know what's real. I don't know what's not. The new Duke of Uke. Cheers, Sean. This is great. So I started a ukulele side channel, link in the description if you guys are interested. But the great thing was, like, I was running this by my friends, like, all right, well, I want to make... People seem to like the ukulele content, but it hurts the guitar content, which I understand, because not everybody wants to, and people who subscribe didn't necessarily maybe want to play ukulele. But I'm like, all right, I'll make another uke channel. It'll be great, a way to experiment with the algorithm, kind of chasing trends and getting more information just on like what's successful out there. And I was asking my friends, like, well, what do I call it? You know? And they're like, oh, you should be Luke, the Duke of Uke. You could be like a guy named Luke, who's like a surfer guy, and it's this alter ego who just plays ukulele. And I'm like, why can't I just be my... And then my other friend's like, you could be the Duke of Uke, where you dress up as like a squire or a duke. And I'm like, why is everybody trying to make me like a clown? Like, can't I just be myself on a ukulele channel? It's like, no, we need to make you a clown. We need to make you more of a YouTube clown than you already are. And that's the only reason we'll follow you. So I do admit that Luke, the Duke of Uke, is a pretty great name. But I don't think I'm ready to lean into an entirely different alter ego just yet. But it's early, so we'll see what happens. Listening homework this week, I'm going to throw you to that Arcs song, Stay in My Corner. Such a great song. The Arcs are coming out with new music too, which is really cool. But yeah, like I said earlier, I taught the song on my Patreon. This used to be on the set list back in the day with Allie, and I've done it solo a few times too. But it's just great. It's got a really, really cool big open chord. It's basically, if you've never heard of the Arcs, it's Dan Auerbach from the Black Keys. It's kind of like a side band of his. And just great. Solid, awesome production. So anyways, thanks for watching. Everybody have a happy and safe New Year. And I will see you next time, potentially as a clown or Luke the Duke of Uke. And I'll talk to you soon. Thanks a lot.